The sun began to rise on the horizon, casting its light gently over Burkina Faso. The air was crisp, the trees rustled softly in the morning breeze, and the birds sang their melodies. On a perfectly paved road, a convoy of black vehicles was speeding along. At its center, the president's car moved majestically. Shiny, imposing, tightly guarded. Inside, Ibrahim Traoré, dressed in his traditional attire, was carefully reviewing classified documents. He looked up and said to his assistant, "We need to be in the capital within 2 hours. This meeting is crucial for our future. I absolutely must be on time." "Understood, Your Excellency," the assistant replied. The driver pressed down a bit harder on the gas pedal. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. The road was clear, the ride uninterrupted. The guards stood tall, focused, their eyes scanning every corner of the landscape. Then suddenly, a small figure emerged from the side of the road and stood directly in the middle of the lane. "What the?" shouted one of the guards. The driver slammed on the brakes. Tires screeched, raising a cloud of dust. The car came to a stop just a few meters from the child. The guards rushed out immediately, alert. "It's a little girl," one of them exclaimed in shock. She looked to be about 5 years old. Her dress was torn, her feet bare, her hair messy and covered in dust. But her eyes, they were sharp, intense, unshaken. "Get out of the way!" the driver yelled. "This is the presidential convoy. Do you want to die?" The little girl didn't move. In a clear, steady, and almost solemn voice, she replied, "I need to speak to the president. It's urgent." The guards looked at each other, confused. "Don't come any closer," one of them barked. "We're on a tight schedule. We must arrive in 2 hours." She shook her head, determined. "You cannot pass. Please, I'm begging you." Drawn by the commotion, the president stepped out of the vehicle. His assistant followed close behind. "What's going on?" he asked in a firm tone. The little girl pointed at him. "You're the one I came for." "President." Ibrahim Traoré frowned. "What do you want to tell me?" "You must not continue this journey. Wait here for 2 hours." A heavy silence fell. Then the guards burst out laughing. "You want the president to stop for 2 hours just because you say so?" one of them mocked. But the girl remained serious. "Please wait. If you leave now, you won't arrive." The president squinted at her. "I respect children, but this is going too far. I've waited for this meeting for a long time. It's vital for the future of our nation. I can't back out now." The little girl held his gaze and said slowly, "A goat doesn't cross the road in the middle of the day for no reason. I'm not angry. I'm not playing. There's danger ahead. You must not go." Annoyed, Traoré turned away. "This is nonsense." But as he approached his car, the girl cried out again. "I saw it in my dream. There were fire trucks, screams, flames, and you were in the middle of it all. If you leave now, you won't come back. Please, wait." The guards moved in to push her aside, but the president gestured for them to stop. He studied her carefully. Her eyes shimmered with tears, her tiny hands were trembling, but she stood firm like a stone. The president let out a deep sigh, crouched down and asked, "Who are you?" "My name is Hope," she whispered. "I have no parents. I sleep beneath the tree by the old well. But I had this dream. And I knew I had to stop you." The president looked deep into her eyes. She seemed scared but sincere. Slowly he stood and told his team, "Cancel the trip. We'll wait here for 2 hours." "Sir?" asked one of the guards. "I said we wait." The convoy came to a full stop, right there on the tree-lined road. Everything froze, for a 5-year-old girl. Traoré got back into his vehicle. He closed his folder and sat silently, lost in thought. "I should be angry," he muttered. "Yet something inside me tells me she's right." Time dragged. The sun climbed higher in the sky. Its rays beat down on the black vehicles. 30 minutes passed. The president grew impatient. The phone rang. The assistant picked it up. "Sir, it's the Foreign Affairs team." He handed the phone to Traoré. "Hello? Your Excellency, are you still coming? This delay is becoming offensive. If you're not here within 90 minutes, we'll award the contract to another African nation." The president's jaw tensed. "I'm on my way. Just a minor delay." You have exactly 1 hour left. No more. The call ended. The guards gathered around, visibly concerned. What if it's a trap? One said, a setup by your enemies? Maybe this girl was sent to stop you, added another. You need to leave now. You're the president. You can't let a child control you. Ibrahim Traoré stepped out of the vehicle, furious. He marched toward the little girl, still calmly sitting on a rock, her gaze turned to the sky. He shouted, I've had enough. I'm leaving right now. She stood up slowly. Please, wait a little longer. No. He roared. You have no right to stop me. You're just a child. Do you think you can command a president? Who do you think you are? The silence was absolute. Even the leaves had gone still. The guards were motionless. The assistant said nothing. I should never have listened to you. He shouted. I'm a man of power and intellect, and I've been foolish enough to stop because of a dream? Hope met his eyes without flinching. She drew a deep breath and said, even a lion stops when the antelope refuses to run. The wind rustled through the trees. What do you mean? The president asked, confused. She stepped closer. You are the lion, strong, feared, respected. But sometimes, danger doesn't roar. It comes silently, like a still antelope. And when the lion leaps, it falls into the trap. The president's heartbeat quickened. A great man who ignores a small warning becomes the loudest voice in the graveyard. That girl isn't ordinary, one of the guards murmured. The president shivered. Nothing around him seemed out of place, but a deep fear crept over him. Hope looked down. If I were lying, would I have stayed here, hungry, barefoot, under this burning sun, just to warn you? I have nothing. But I had this dream. And I gave it to you. Traoré stepped back. His breath was shallow. We're staying. And that's final. This time, no one objected. The guards spread out and secured the area. Some sat beneath the trees, others stood guard. Everyone whispered about the strange little girl. Inside his car, the president sat silently. He continued to watch Hope, still sitting there, her gaze lost in the sky. He closed his eyes. Her words echoed. A powerful man who ignores a small warning becomes the loudest voice in the graveyard. 2 hours passed. The convoy remained still. Tension filled the air. All eyes were fixed on Hope. The phone rang. The assistant picked up, then went pale. Sir, it's the National Emergency Team. Put it on speaker. A distressed voice came through. Your Excellency, a tragedy occurred 40 minutes from here. What exactly happened? A fuel tanker lost control. It exploded. The fire spread to over 40 vehicles. Buses, cars, motorcycles, everything burned. It happened an hour ago. Exactly when you would have been there. Silence. There were no survivors. The guard's eyes filled with tears. The assistant dropped the phone. The president stepped out slowly, pale and shaken. Hope was still sitting there, calm, unchanged. He walked toward her. When he reached her, he knelt down. You saved me. It wasn't me. It was the dream I was given, she answered softly. You could have stayed hidden. You took a huge risk. I was scared too. But I was more afraid of what would happen if I stayed silent. The president lowered his head. How many children would have done what you did? A guard whispered. She's not just a child. She's a blessing. The president took her hand. From now on, you are no longer just Hope. You are my hope. The hope of our people. The convoy resumed its journey, slowly. Hope sat beside the president, watching the trees go by, not yet understanding what her courage had accomplished. When they arrived at the palace, the gates opened. Staff members bowed as they saw the little girl holding the president's hand. No one asked a single question. Traoré immediately called a meeting. Hope stood beside him, barefoot, in her torn dress. He declared, what I am about to say is not for cameras. This isn't about politics. It's about truth. He told everything. The stop, the dream, the accident, their survival. Then he said, this child saved an entire nation. From now on, she is my daughter. She will live here, be protected, educated, and loved. Applause erupted. Hope had tears in her eyes. For the first time, someone had called her, my daughter. The president lifted her in his arms. She is not just a child. She is a national treasure. The hope we've been waiting for. The next day, the president addressed the nation. The people listened, moved. And from that day on, two sayings spread across the country. Even a lion stops when the antelope refuses to run. A powerful man who ignores a small warning becomes the loudest voice in the graveyard. Hope began her new life. She went to school. She was cared for. She made friends. And whenever someone asked how she became the president's daughter, she simply answered, "I just shared what I saw in my dream."